Hello and good evening. It is Miss Council right back at you once again. Hope everybody is doing well and staying safe out there. Thank you so much for joining me once again on this journey. Hope y'all been productive today, getting through the week, being nice to each other. Say y'all been nice. Hope so. That's the only way to be. Y'all better get along. Last time, I know it's been a while because we had to take a little break, but the last time we talked about the Divorcee Academy, I was telling you a little bit about my program for one-on-one coaching with women. And so that's what we talked about the last time. I talked about divorce and the decision in getting divorced and, how divorce is not your stopping point. And so go and check that video out to hear more about the Divorcee Academy. If you're here with me, I like to see those thumbs up and those hearts. Let me know what you're thinking. Say hello. I might not be able to see you pop in, but say hello. And I'll say hello right back at you. So thank you again for joining me once again right here. I am Miss Council. And hello, everyone. Please make sure you go and check out my Facebook community. It is called Divorced Like Us. You only have to answer a couple of questions, I promise. Won't take a lot of your time and you'll be admitted in based on your answers to the questions. But sorry, man, this group is only for women who are divorced. So whether you're divorced and single, or divorced and remarried, this group is for you because you know what? We learn from each other all of the time, right? So, hi, Tasha. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Thank you so much for joining. So, let's get started. Y'all know I'm Miss Council, and I am a life and relationship coach, and I help women who are divorced get their lives back after divorce, and women who are remarried have more successful second marriages. Well, tonight, just like any other night, we're going to have a great topic. So y'all join me on this journey. I thank you so much for, continuing to join me on this journey. We've talked about a lot of different things, but, my topic is divorce and relationships. And we've talked about everything from forgiveness on down to dating and on down to, second marriages. Sometime my boo thing, he joins us and, we get the men's side. So, we'll invite him on from time to time to give his insight. So, I know sometimes it's good to hear from the opposite side, right? So tonight we're talking about after the ink dries. Divorce is a choice. I get it. It is. And it's a choice because it requires action. It may not be a step that we really wanted to take. Some of us may not have wanted to get divorced. One would surmise that because of the fact that you're the one that filed that you wanted to. But sometimes we feel like our hands are forced. It's almost like when you hit somebody, but you're not the one who caused an accident. I remember years ago, about 5 years ago, I had a car accident and the person turned in front of me out of nowhere. They went up around a median and turned in front of me. And so although I hit him, he was at fault because he caused the accident. He made a wrong turn and I had the right of way and I just didn't see him. And so yet that was an action that I had to take, but I didn't want to take it. I did everything I could to avoid hitting him. But, sometimes it's like that in life. We kind of feel like we don't have a choice, although we do. Divorce is a process. Can be quite a long process, but it's a difficult one. During the divorce, to make the decision is difficult. During the divorce, it's difficult. And even after, that's when the real work begins. Now you're having to deal with yourself. And you also have to forgive somebody who never apologized. You may not even be talking to your ex. Even if you have kids or not, you may not even be talking to them. But you're having to be able to move on with your life. Hey, y'all, my big brother is on. Happy birthday to my big brother, Keith. I just saw him pop in. Thank you for joining on your birthday, nonetheless. But you're dealing with yourself. You're having to deal with yourself and forgiving somebody who never apologized. But, I always say that forgiveness is for you. Also in that process, you're dealing with grieving that relationship that you once had. Hey, baby brother, I see that you're here. But you're grieving. There can definitely be grief after divorce, because divorce can be like a death. And you go through that process of grieving. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. There's some people out there, I'll admit, there's some people who are just not affected by divorce. They're going about their business. They're clicking their heels. They like ding dong, the witch is dead. They playing the divorce parties. Ain't good for y'all. But I ain't talking to y'all. So, look away, go tap a friend, tag a friend who needs this information, because there are a lot of people out there who are struggling with it. So those are the people that I'm talking to. And good for you if you are unaffected. And that's okay. If you're not affected, if not, everybody handles things differently. But if you are, like I was affected, you might be filled with so many emotions. I went through a whole gamut of emotions, and you just might not know what to do with yourself. I know somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. Hey, dearie. Hey, sis. I see you're on. But you're just dealing with it. After divorce, it's like a time of rediscovery. You might be going through depression. You might have anger. You might not be able to figure out what it is that you're feeling. Sometimes, you can't really touch that emotion or describe it. It's almost like a pain that you may be feeling. It's like, the doctors want to ask, is it a stabbing pain? Is it an ache? Or is it a dull ache? I don't know. It just hurts. And so that's what it's like after divorce. It just hurts. I don't know. I don't know what to take. I don't know what to rub. I'm just upset. I'm just mad. You might still be mad at your ex. You might still be mad with them. You might be looking for him or her to apologize, to give you some closure, the closure you might need to move on with your life. But face it, you just might not get that. And I talk about forgiveness because it's for you and it's not for them. So you might have to forgive that person even without an apology. You might have to be able to move on. Divorce, it's a lot. It's a lot because you still have to raise kids. You still have to go to work. You still got commitments. You've got to move on. So in moving on, sometimes we try to make it look all right, like make it look regular. But, those who really know something's off, and something's off. It takes time. After the ink dries, that's what I'm calling it today. After the ink dries, it takes some time, takes some getting used to of what your new life is. It's not a quick or seamless process at all. And I've talked about, there's an expert that talks about, it may take about 1 year for every 10 years of the relationship to get over it. That's a lot. So for those of you who've been married for like 20 years and decide to get divorced, you're not ready to move on with your life. And moving on doesn't necessarily mean moving on to another relationship, just moving on with your life, moving forward without that person, because your routine changes. You might have been getting up in the morning, making breakfast, fixing lunches, having dinner ready. You might have been used to going out on Friday nights for date nights. You may have been used to watching your favorite shows together. So, you might have to find some new favorite shows. You might have to meet some new friends to go and hang out. But what I'm saying is that your routine changes. What you normally do has changed. So let's talk about that grieving a little bit. Grieving the loss. It's just like somebody died. Someone close to you died, because your spouse may have been your best friend, your go-to person, your ride or die, and then that person is gone. I've heard people talk about, that was my best friend. And so now I don't have my best friend anymore because the relationship is over. There's some people who were really great friends. They just didn't work out well as a couple. So what do they do? Because like I talked about in another video, your family has to break up with your ex. Why your family has to break up with your ex? Well, it's the same thing, that you have to learn to live life without them, because you may not be able to have that same communication. It may not be healthy for you. So you still gonna be kicking it with your ex at Thanksgiving, and he got a new girlfriend. He bringing them to your friend's house. Hey, cuz, I see you're on also. But You can't continue going on like that because of the fact. I mean, I take that back. I won't say you can't because some people might, but remember, I ain't talking to y'all who clicking your heels and just good after divorce. I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking to the people who are like me, who went through some things and it wasn't so easy to get past. So you may be grieving it. And I just want to talk about the 5 stages of grief a little bit. The grief after divorce. Denial is one of the first stages of it. Difficulty accepting that it's over. You may not have been the one who filed. You may have been like, oh, I can keep this going for 20 more years or till death do us part, like we said when we got married. You may be hoping that things will change. Be looking for a spark. Like, it's going to be something. I'm going to put on his favorite color. I'm going to sit there and watch football all day long, or I'm going to make his favorite meal, or I'm not going to nag him. You're just in denial. At that point in time, because we're talking about the ink has dried and we're there. This person is mourning the loss. It's normal because you're overwhelmed with emotions and your mind is probably running a million miles a minute. But this is a way to just hide from the facts and not deal with the pain. One more time for the people in the back. You're just hiding from the facts because you don't want to deal with the pain. That's what denial is. The next stage is anger. You might be in denial, then you should the anger. Anger, everything about them makes you mad. Just the thought of them. If you have kids together, just the interaction with the kids. Why he got to take them over there? Why is she doing this? Why is she giving them dinner when she knows that when the kids get home, they eat dinner with me? It's just any and everything. Their voice, them breathing, everything just gets on your last nerve. And you're mad. You're ready to pick a fight, right? The next stage is bargaining, thinking that if only I had seen this coming, trying to figure out, maybe there's a way that I can get them back. Hey, it's some people who get back and have successful marriages after they divorce each other. I know some people who have remarried the same person. And that's your business. Whatever makes you happy, that's what makes you happy. But in the bargaining stage, you're trying to change the past or change your present with your thoughts. Trying to fix what happened or trying to make that person as miserable as you are. There's some people out there that are bitter and they really trying to just like lay it on thick and hurt the other person. And that might be through their children, which is pretty sad. But the next phase is depression. The next stage that we're going to talk about is depression. Y'all know what depression is. Not wanting to get out of bed. You don't want to eat. You're not exercising. You're not sleeping well. The sadness is just all over you over the loss of the marriage. Maybe you feel like you are a failure. That's how I felt. You might play the victim or blame your ex in an ordeal or in order to deal with the pain. Ain't nothing, I guess, that makes people feel better. Let me find somebody to blame. I could just be mad with them, and they're the reason why I'm in this situation. They're the reason why we had to get divorced. Maybe you feel that way. Then there's the stage called acceptance. That's where you are ready to move on and pursue a new life, and you have some hope for the future. But it's about letting go of the past. You can't keep harboring those feelings and definitely hate or disdain for somebody else. So that's why forgiveness is so important. For you to be able to accept it and move on. You might still feel some anger. You might feel guilt. But those emotions, they're going to decrease over time. But, just to say, oh, I forgive you, that doesn't remove the responsibility or that person from acknowledging what they have done. But forgiving them allows you to just move on with your life. Like really forgiving them, because that way you're not over here thinking about them and they ain't thinking about you. Overcoming the grief is part of the healing process, and just like forgiveness is a part of the healing process, it's necessary in order for you to be able to move on. Divorce grief is so complicated. It's like I said before, it's like mourning the death of a loved one, and if for those of us who have lost a loved one, it takes a long time, and it never really goes away, but you learn how to cope, and you accept it, and you start thinking, okay, I got to be able to move forward. I understand they're no longer here, and that's normal to grieve. It's normal. and it's necessary. But I want you to know that you can get past the grief of divorce. But you have to deal with those feelings. You have to acknowledge them and recognize what's really going on. Skipping that process by not acknowledging the problem or that you need some help or some counseling, that's only going to prolong it. It's kind of like you got lost on the way, and you keep passing this same marker. It's like, why do I keep coming back to the same place? Well, it's because you're going in the wrong direction. That's why you going. I mean, somehow you keep hitting the same wall. But that's what it is. If you don't acknowledge that there's an issue and get some help, and don't go through that by yourself. I've talked about a lot often therapy. Get a counselor, a licensed counselor who knows tools, tips, strategies to help you cope, help you get bring it out, find out what the issues are, bring those to the table, and move forward. Because once you get past this grief, then you'll be able to determine, like, what's my new life look like? What's this normal life? And you'll be able to get back to that. Socializing with your friends, working out, get you a life coach and work towards some goals. You'll be able to start activities, doing those activities maybe that you used to enjoy, finding some new activities, finding some new friends. You'll learn to love yourself again and start dreaming and having some hope for the future. After the ink dries, that's where your life begins. Your new life begins. You have to define what that looks like and what really makes you happy. That possibility, that has possibly changed, I'll say. It's possibly changed, and you might have to discover what the new you likes. Y'all remember me saying, hey, y'all, I used to tell people, oh, I liked jazz music and walks in the park. Like, no, for real, Hannah Montana and Dora the Explorer, that's what I was watching on TV. And I was not listening to any jazz. I knew all the words to the High School Musical songs. That was the truth. But, some guy that was trying to date me wasn't trying to hear that. He didn't, unless he had a daughter, a young kid, they wouldn't be watching Dora or High School Musical, right? But I had to learn who the new me was. Who was the new me, and what she liked. Then I can go out there and share it with somebody else. You might not be ready to date. In fact, I don't suggest it. I'd advise against it, because you have to get your bearings. Remember I said, it's a new you, a new normal. You may like new things. And then you also, your list has changed of what you're looking for in a mate. But you also can't just keep going, keep cycling through and like, oh, okay, who's next? Who's next? You're just going to drop your baggage onto the next person. And remember, I told you, it's not a certain amount of time. So who knows? It could be a month, 2 months, 2 years, 3, 7. I don't know. But whatever it is that you have to discover your happiness, and you can't take that bitterness or that baggage into the next relationship. I'm going to have to do another video about that. I talked about the baggage, but yeah, we just cannot take that into other relationships, because that's not fair to the next person. So, I've talked about dating after divorce. And y'all know that's the title of my next book. I've mentioned that before. So coming next year, dating after divorce. And, it's no secret. I talk about it all the time. My dating chronicles, they were a lot and they were hilarious. But I say a lot, tasking, but also hilarious. But I made it through after fumbling and bumbling through it. That's why I'm able to tell y'all, hey, y'all, you might not be ready yet. You might not be ready for that next one. You might go and mess somebody else up. But, I had to determine what it was that I wanted to make, because obviously what I had thought I wanted, that wasn't it. But I had to figure it out and stick to that. This underline, bold, put in red. Figure it out and stick to it. So what I mean is that list that's in your head or written down somewhere, you got to stick to it. Don't be like, oh, well, I'm okay if that person cusses all the time. But that's not you. You don't get down like that. Or I'm okay if that person is a drinker, or if they I love to watch sports and that person doesn't like sports, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be down to like food dislikes or allergies or anything like that, but you have to, if there's something that you really love, like I love traveling, if it's somebody who ain't got a passport and don't plan on getting one, or maybe they can't get one, they gonna get left. I don't know how we gonna be together. So but figure out what it is that you want. And I know that that's hard to do, but that's why you got to get yourself together. But before I was starting to just really be real with myself and what was that I wanted, and being okay with sticking to it and walking away. That's the key thing in walking away when you don't see it. It was hard because I don't like hurting other people's feelings. It was difficult to be like, hey, this ain't gonna work out. Like, I don't believe in wasting nobody's time, and I don't want to waste mine. And then they get into wanting an explanation like, look, trust me. I mean, and the one time that I gave somebody some feedback, I hurt his feelings. It was just like, I just told him, I said, you just don't really communicate with me. You want to communicate when it's time, when you want to go out somewhere, but in between, you don't want to talk on the phone, text, you don't want to have conversations. That's how I get to know you. But he was like, I want to get to know you in person. I'm like, yeah, but we live on opposite sides of the dang state pretty much. You're going to need to talk to me on the phone. Because I like to talk and I like to have conversation. That's how I get to know you. And you ask me a question and it leads somewhere else, and I ask you a question about yourself. That's how you get to know people. But he was kind of like, I don't really talk on the phone. I said, okay, well, I understand that. I ain't trying to convince you otherwise, but I'm just letting you know what I require. And I just told him, I said, it ain't going to work out. And then like a year later, he called me. He said, you know what? You really hurt my feelings. I said, why? Because I was honest. I'm just trying to tell you what it is that I require, and I understand if you can't meet those needs, and I don't want to waste your time. And that's really what it is about. Is we didn't want some of the same things. We weren't on the same page. So I had to be honest with him, and it was difficult for me to do that. But later, like I said, he called me about a year later. It's like, you really hurt my feelings, but it really helped me understand, because he's like, I am kind of really quiet and I'm awkward. I don't really know what to say on the phone. I like, we just talking about something regular, but that's what I required. So how is it that, when we get older and we're retired and we sitting on the porch with each other, we can't have a conversation about nothing because you don't like to talk. So then what I'm going to do with myself? So and I also discovered there were a lot of people out there, not a lot. I don't think you think that I had like an endless dating pool, but some people, I just realized that we didn't want the same things out of life. Therefore, I was wasting my time. If you got a retirement plan and that person spending every dime that they make, then that means that y'all are not on the same page, or y'all gonna have to get on the same page. But not everybody handles their finances in the same way. But get on the same page. Figure out what it is that you want. What I was doing was making myself believe that, oh yeah, I'm just dating to see what's out there. I'm just entertaining, being entertained. Lying to myself. I'm just trying to tell y'all. I'm just being honest with you. I did it. That's why I can talk about it and tell you to set your standard and stick to it. I don't care how good they look. It doesn't matter how good they look, because at the end of the day, are they what you really want? If you want to remarry at some point, should be dating with a purpose. I mean, even if you don't want to remarry, you don't want to get married, you should be dating with a purpose. And whatever that purpose is whatever it is that you want. And, you don't have to come through the gate with your wedding day planned out, and you done bought your dress, you got your wedding planned out on Pinterest, hoping somebody's going to ask you. But what I am saying is not to align yourself with somebody who ain't even on the same page, much less in the same book that you're in. I'm just trying to tell you, I'm just trying to be honest with you. For my single ladies out there, same thing applies. Hey, single man, the same thing applies. You can't fit a square peg into a round hole. It's not going to fit. So don't try to make that person fit into a mold of a man or woman that you desire when that's not who they are. If you can't take them as they are, then lead them where they at. Okay? Let them go be great for that person who's looking for someone just like them. There's somebody out there looking for that perfectly imperfect person. And there's somebody out there looking for that perfectly imperfect person that you are. Just got to find them, or you got to make yourself available so that you can be found. But you can't be found if you over here under the bed, depressed and still worried about your ex who done moved on with his or her life. Just keeping it regular. After the ink dries, it's time to reclaim, renew, and restart your life. There's no looking back. So forgiveness is a must. Letting go of the past is required, and moving forward is the only way to get where you truly want to be. I believe everyone's goal is happiness. What does your happiness look like? Y'all know I'm Miss Counsel, and Miss Counsel knows a little bit about everything. Thank you so much for joining me. I ain't telling you what I heard, but I'm telling you what I know. Please go and check out my Facebook group, Divorced Like Us, and check out my website, MissCounselKnows.com, where you can learn how to work with me. Thank y'all so much for joining, and you have a good night.